I went on a solo camping trip to get away from it all, but what happened to me in the woods was far worse than anything I could have imagined. Day 1, the first night. I've always been a city guy, born and raised. The lights, the noise, the constant hum of life, it's where I'm comfortable. So, when I told people I was going on a solo camping trip, they didn't take me seriously. And honestly, neither did I at first. I've always thought of the wilderness as this romanticized place where the air is fresh, the sky is endless, and the stars feel close enough to touch. The reality is a whole different thing. That I'm here now, though, setting up camp in the woods. It feels like the kind of place where you can get lost in the silence. There's a strange peace about it, something that both comforts and unnerves me. But as I unpack, I realize that I've forgotten a few things. Like, I'm alone. Really alone. I've got the essentials: tent, sleeping bag, food, and water. I brought a couple of cans of beans, a small portable stove, and some jerky. I'm not expecting a gourmet meal out here, but it'll keep me going. For now, it's enough. I'm setting up camp by a small stream, just off the beaten path. The kind of place you see in travel brochures, peaceful and remote. The sound of running water is soothing, almost hypnotic. I'm trying to focus on the little things: tying the knots for my tent, arranging the gear in a way that makes sense, getting the fire going before the sun sets. As the evening drags on, the temperature drops quickly. I should have expected it, but I didn't. I'm pulling on an extra layer, trying to make myself comfortable by the fire. The wind picks up a little, rustling the leaves in the trees around me. It's strange how something as simple as a breeze can sound so much louder when you're out here alone. The fire crackles, and the shadows grow long. I feel like I'm being watched, but that's probably just the isolation getting to me. Right? Night falls, and with it comes that deep, all-encompassing silence. The kind that fills every crack and corner, makes you aware of the smallest sounds. It's almost like the forest is holding its breath. I'm lying in my tent now, the sound of my own breathing filling the space. It's a little too quiet. A few animal noises in the distance, nothing threatening, just the usual wildlife. But the more I listen, the more it feels like something's off. The wind has stopped. The usual rustling of leaves, the chirping of crickets, it's all gone. I tell myself it's nothing, just my mind playing tricks on me. Still, I can't shake the feeling that something's out there, moving through the woods, watching. The idea makes my skin crawl, but I force myself to close my eyes, pushing the thought away. Day 2, the morning after. Woke up to a cold, crisp morning. My breath came out in foggy puffs, and for a moment, I just stood there, staring at the mist hanging in the trees like some kind of ghostly veil. It's beautiful out here, no doubt about that. But the more I look around, the more I feel like there's something just beneath the surface that I can't quite put my finger on. I know it's probably just nerves, but there's a heaviness in the air. Maybe it's the isolation, maybe it's just the unfamiliarity. The firewood I collected last night was damp, and I had trouble getting it going. I've never been great with fires, and today it took me longer than it should have to get a proper blaze started. My hands are trembling, and I'm not sure if it's the cold or something else. I spent a good part of the day exploring the area. There's a trail that leads deeper into the forest, but it's not well marked, which gives me pause. I follow it for a while, but something about it feels off. The way the trees are spaced out, the quietness of it, makes me second-guess my decision. I turn back. The rest of the day is uneventful. I make a small meal, read a little, and enjoy the solitude. But as the sun begins to set, I can't shake the feeling that something is wrong. It's like the forest has come alive, cracking branches, faint whispers on the wind, but every time I look around, I can't find the source. That night, I'm once again aware of the silence. It's strange how quiet the world gets out here. Almost unnerving. The fire flickers low, and I make the mistake of venturing too far from the tent to get more wood. I tell myself it's just a quick trip to gather a few branches, but the further I walk, the more the trees start to look the same. Everything feels so unfamiliar. I'm standing there in the woods, a few feet from the camp, and I realize that I've lost my sense of direction. The world around me looks so different in the dark. I can't see the path I came from. The thought of being lost alone in these woods starts to crawl into my mind. I start walking back, but it feels like the trees are pressing in on me, suffocating me. The sound of something cracking underfoot makes my heart stop. I freeze, trying to make sense of it, but there's nothing. No movement, no other noise. Just the pulse of my own breathing. I shake it off, forcing myself to take slow, deliberate steps toward the camp. When I make it back to the tent, I'm shaken. I tell myself it was nothing, just the forest playing tricks on me. But it's hard to ignore the feeling that something was out there with me. Day 3, the first signs. The worst thing about being out here alone is the creeping doubt that gnaws at you. It starts small, a whisper in the back of your mind. But it grows. And it keeps growing until you're unsure if your own thoughts can be trusted. I woke up this morning to a strange discovery. The food I had left out last night, jerky and a few energy bars, was gone. At first, I think it's just me being forgetful, but then I see the signs. Animal tracks near the camp, larger than anything I've seen before, and something gnawed through the wrappers of the food. I'm not an expert on wildlife, but I know what's been around here. And whatever ate my food isn't your average raccoon or deer. It was bigger, more persistent. And it didn't leave much behind. I spent most of the day hiking in search of answers, trying to find out what was going on. Maybe it was just a bear or something equally harmless, but as the hours tick by, the tension in my stomach only grows. I haven't seen any signs of other hikers, no fresh trail markers, no other campfires. It's just me. And whatever else is out here. By nightfall, I've made the decision to stay put for the time being. I'm not going to risk wandering too far without knowing what I'm up against, but sleep doesn't come easy tonight. Every snap of a twig, every rustle of a leaf makes my skin crawl. I can't stop thinking about the tracks. They were too big to be anything I've seen before. And that food, it was gone. Something took it, something with intent, something bigger than me.